Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, welcome to Leisure Gaming. I am Leisure. For today's deck profile, we're looking at the Exosisters and their support that was just released in Sprites of Miracle. If you're unfamiliar with the Sisters, Exosisters is an Xyz monster-based archetype focused on punishing your opponent for interacting with the graveyard with conditional trigger effects that allow the player to Xyz summon monsters only using one Exosister monster. All Exosister main deck monsters have two effects. A shared one-card Xyz trigger effect that can be used if a card is moved out of the graveyard, and then their own individual effects. To start off the deck profile, we have our usual hand traps of 3 Max C and 3 Ash Blossoms. The next 4 cards, Inari Fire, Nefarious Archfiend Eater of Nefariousness, Gigabyte, and Ranryu all have the first effect that state if you control a spellcaster monster, which all the Exosisters are, you can special summon this card from your hand. This makes it really easy to go into an Xyz monster if you don't have any other means of doing so. Also, they all have secondary effects, but because you're usually using them for Xyz summoning, they never really get into those effects. Going into the Exosisters, the first being Exosister Elise, which you run 3 of. If you control an Exosister monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then if you control Exosister Stella, you gain 800 life points. Next are 3 Exosister Stella. During your main phase, you can special summon 1 Exosister monster from your hand. Then if you control Exosister Elise, you gain 800 life points. Running 1 Exosister Irene, you can place 1 Exosister card from your hand on the bottom of the deck, then draw 1 card. Then if you control Exosister Sophia, you gain 800 life points. Next are 2 Exosister Sophia. If you control another Exosister monster, you can draw 1 card. Then if you control Exosister Irene, you gain 800 life points. Next are 3 Exosister Marthas, which is the newest Exosister introduced to Master Duel. If you control no monsters or only Xyz monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, special summon 1 Exosister Ellis from your deck. You cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except for Exosister monsters. If a card or cards moves out of either graveyard, you can special summon 1 Exosister Xyz monster using this face-up card you control as material. Next are 2 Dimension Shifter. If you have no cards in your graveyard, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard until the end of the next turn, and any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Going on to the spells, we have 1 Raigeki to help clear your opponent's monster field, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, which will destroy all spells and traps on your opponent's side. We have 1 Exosister Carpe Diem. Neither player can target Exosister monsters you control with effects of monsters that were special summoned from the graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of Carpe Diem once per turn. If you Xyz summon an Exosister monster, you can declare 1 card name, negate the activate effects and effects on the field of cards with that original name until the end of the turn. When an attack is declared involving an Exosister monster, you can target 1 spell or trap on your opponent's side and destroy it. We have 2 Call by the Graves. You can target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard and banish it, and if you do, until the end of the next turn, its effects are negated, as well as the activated effects of effects on the field of monsters with the same original name. 3 Exosister Packs. During the main phase, pay 800 life points, add 1 Exosister card from your deck to your hand except Exosister Packs. Then if you added a monster by this effect, you can special summon the Exosister as long as the other Exosister is on the field or in the graveyard. With Exosister Packs, you're primarily going to be looking for Martha. Unless you already have Martha, then you're going to be searching depending on what can be special summoned. 1 Exosister Armament. Pay 800 life points, then target 1 Exosister monster you control. Special summon 1 Exosister Xyz monster from your extra deck with a different name than the cards you control by using that target as material. Next are 3 Infinite Impermanence to negate monster effects along with negating the column that you activated this card in. Next are 2 Exosister Vadis. Pay 800 life points, choose 1 Exosister monster from your deck, then take 1 other Exosister monster from your deck that is mentioned on that monster and special summon both, but shuffle them into the deck during the end phase. Also, for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Exosister monsters. Next are 2 of the newest support cards for the Exosisters, Exosister Returnia. If all monsters you control are Exosister monsters, pay 800 life points, then target 1 card your opponent controls or in their graveyard, banish it, then you can apply one of the following effects. Immediately after this effect resolves, Xyz summon 1 Exosister Xyz monster using monsters you control, or if you Xyz summon this turn, banish 1 card your opponent controls. Moving on to the extra deck, we have 1 Baguska. This attack position card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot target this attack position card with card effects. While this card is in face-up defense position, change all face-up monsters on the field to defense position. Also negate the activated effects of monsters that were in defense position when this effect was activated. Next are 2 Exosister Michaelis. Cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summoned from the graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of Exosister Michaelis once per turn. If you control this card that was Xe summoned this turn by using an Exosister monster as material, you can target one card your opponent controls or in a graveyard and banish it. You can detach one material from this card, add one Exosister spell or trap from your deck to your hand. When looking for your spells and traps, you're probably looking for one of 2, and your targets are going to be Vadis and Returnia. Next are 2 Caspatel. If this card is Xe summoned using an Exosister monster as material, neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyard for the rest of the turn. You can detach one material from this card, add one Exosister monster from your deck to your hand. Your primary search is going to be Martha, and then your secondary search is going to be Elise. Next is 1 Jabreen. If you control this card that was Xe summoned this turn using an Exosister monster as material, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. You can detach one material from this card for the rest of the turn. All Xe monsters you control will gain 800 attack, even if she's not on the field. Next are 2 Asophiel. If this card is Xe summoned using an Exosister monster as material, neither player can activate card effects in the graveyard this turn. You can detach one material from this card, then target one monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand. Next are 2 Magnifica, which is the other new Exosister that has joined us from the Sprites of Miracle. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card and banish one card your opponent controls. When your opponent activates a card effect, you can return one Xe monster you own attached to this card to your extra deck. Then you can special summon that monster from your extra deck using this card you control as material. Of course, because Exosisters is primarily an Xe deck, we definitely have to have Zeus. We have 1 Lion of the Light Charmer. You can target one light monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to a zone this card points to. Once you do that, you can then link into Selene, Queen of the Master Magicians, and if this card is link summoned, place spell counters on this card equal to the number of spells on the field and in the graveyard. Once per turn, during your main phase, you can remove 3 spell counters from this card to special summon one spellcaster monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. Luckily, all the Exosisters are spellcasters, so it makes it really easy to bring something back, which will then help you link climb into your access code Talker or your Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Now, if you don't want to use Underworld Goddess, or if you don't have her, you could definitely use Boral Sword Dragon. So that's it for the deck profile. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, go ahead, leave a like and subscribe. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Later.